The rules of the hollow. The paper on the porch. I moved to the Appalachian hills of West Virginia in late April, looking for the kind of silence you can only find when the nearest neighbor is a 3-mile hike away. I bought a cabin that had been sitting empty for 6 years. On my first day, while unloading the truck, a man with a thick salt and pepper mustache and a camouflage cap, much like the man in the videos you see, stopped his old Ford at the edge of my drive. He didn't get out. He just handed me a piece of yellowed notebook paper. "The previous owners didn't follow these," he said, his voice like gravel. "That's why the house was empty." I laughed it off as mountain hazing until I read the list. It was titled Rules for the Hollow. Don't whistle after the sun goes down. It's an invitation, and you won't like what RSVPs. If you hear your name called from the woods, know you didn't. If it sounds like a loved one, it's a lie. If a voice sounds miles away, it's standing right behind you. If it sounds like it's in your ear, it's still searching for you. Never look too long into the tree line. If you see something that looks like a deer with wrong eyes, go inside and lock the door. Always keep the well house door bolted. It's not to keep things out of the water. It's to keep things in the dark. I crumpled the paper and tossed it onto the kitchen counter. I'm a city kid. I believe in bears and bobcats, not boogeymen. But that night, the silence of the mountains felt less like peace and more like a held breath. As I walked to my mailbox at dusk, I saw a sign nailed to a crooked oak tree I hadn't noticed before. In a shaky black paint, it read, "I'd turn back if I were you." The whistle in the dark. By the second week, the isolation started to get to me. To break the oppressive quiet, I found myself humming and eventually whistling. It was a habit I didn't even realize I had. It was 10:30 p.m., and I was sitting on my porch, looking out into the pitch-black wall of trees. I let out a long, low whistle, a tune my father used to play. The forest, which had been buzzing with the sound of crickets and frogs, went dead silent in an instant. Not a single wing beat, not a single leaf rustle. Then, from deep within the trees, a whistle came back. It was the exact same tune, but the pitch was off. It sounded like it was being played through a wet, vibrating throat. My heart hammered against my ribs. I remembered rule number 1. Don't whistle. I stood up to head inside when I heard it. "Elias!" It was my mother's voice. She had passed away 3 years ago. The voice sounded thin, like it was coming from the bottom of a canyon miles away. But then I remembered rule number 3. If it sounds far away, it's standing right behind you. I didn't turn around. I sprinted inside and slammed the heavy oak door, throwing every bolt I had. I sat on the floor back against the wood, gasping for air. That's when the scratching started. It wasn't at the door. It was coming from the floorboards, right beneath me, from the direction of the well house that sat directly under the kitchen pantry. The face in the tree. I stayed in the kitchen until dawn, clutching a kitchen knife. When the sun finally crested the ridge, the scratching stopped. I felt brave, or maybe just stupid, and decided I needed to see what was out there. I walked to the window and looked toward the tree line. At first I saw nothing. Then I saw the deer. It was standing at the edge of the clearing, but it wasn't right. Its neck was too long, bent at an angle that would have snapped a normal spine. Its front legs ended in what looked like human fingers, splayed out in the dirt. Worst of all were the eyes. They weren't on the sides of its head like a prey animal. They were forward-facing, bulging and pale, staring directly into my window with a predator's focus. I backed away, but my heel hit something. I looked down. It was the yellowed paper the neighbor had given me. There was a 6th rule on the back I hadn't seen before. If you see it watching you, it's already been in your house. I froze. A cold draft hit the back of my neck. I realized the pantry door, the one leading down to the well house, was standing wide open. I hadn't opened it. From the darkness of the pantry, the wet whistle started again. Only this time, it wasn't a tune. It was the sound of my own voice, perfectly mimicked, whispering, "I'd turn back if I were you." I didn't pack. I didn't grab my keys. I ran out the front door and down the 3-mile road in my socks. I didn't stop until I hit the main highway. I never went back for my truck or my belongings. The neighbor with the mustache saw me at the gas station a few hours later. He didn't ask what happened. He just nodded once, like he was checking a name off a list.